verbal or life.
And we're live. How's it going, everybody? It's Noel over here, battling MS. And I'm trying to go live every day. I'm trying to change my channel here and be more vociferous or talk a little more, let you guys know my opinion and what's going on out there. So the goal is to go live every day around from 12 to 1. Today I was able to go on now, which is like 12:30. Thank you for joining us. I'm trying to get more subscribers, and thank you for all the new subscribers. We're up to 1,613. So we're doing great. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and on that like button, so like that more people can hear this message. And there's a lot of news going on, and I just want to share with you guys what's happening out there. Let's start with Meet the Press. I was watching Meet the Press this weekend, and they really did a good job pointing out what's happening with Biden right now in terms of he's being prosecuted, or they had a special investigator go in and take a look at what's happening with the classified files. But you know what? Let me show you this clip, and then I'll jump in and talk more about it. Take a look. Let me take off the audio before.
Welcome to Meet the Press Now. I'm Yamisha Sender on a fiery day here in Washington today. Now, former special counsel Robert Hur defended his report on President Biden's handling of classified documents. In more than 4 hours of testimony before the House Judiciary Committee, Hur defended his decision not to recommend charges against the president. He also defended his report's assessment of President Biden's memory.
The evidence and the president himself put his memory squarely at issue. We interviewed the president and asked him about his recorded statement. Quote, "I just found all the classified stuff downstairs," end quote. He told us that he didn't remember saying that to his ghostwriter. He also said he didn't remember finding any classified material in his home after his vice presidency. My assessment in the report about the relevance of the president's memory was necessary and accurate and fair. Most importantly, what I wrote is what I believe the evidence shows and what I expect jurors would perceive and believe.
You know, that was good that that doctor was honest, or that investigator was honest with his report, and he really put it out there and let everybody else judge. But at least he was honest.
Explain to the Attorney General my decision and the reasons for it. That's what I was required to do.
The hearing came just hours after the Justice Department released the transcript of the special counsel's interview with the president. Democrats accused her of weaponizing the interview for political purposes by characterizing the president as a, quote, elderly man with a poor memory.
You could have written your report with comments about his specific recollection as to documents or a set of documents, but you chose a general pejorative reference to the president. You understood when you made that decision, didn't you, Mr. Hur, that you would ignite a political firestorm with that language, didn't you?
Congressman, politics played no part whatsoever in my investigative steps.
Are you a member of the Federalist Society?
I am not a member of the Federalist Society.
But you are a Republican, though, aren't you?
I am a registered Republican.
Yes, sir. And you're doing everything you can do to get President Trump reelected so that you can get appointed as a federal judge or perhaps to another position in the Department of Justice. Isn't that correct?
Congressman, I have no such aspirations, I can assure you, and I can tell you that partisan politics had no place whatsoever in my work.
Like, the guy was honest, and being honest is now wrong. Like, you're being attacked now for being honest. Politics is crazy.
It had no place in the investigative steps that I took. It had no place in the decision that I made, and it had no place in a single word of my report.
So this lengthy, expensive, and independent investigation resulted in a complete exoneration of President Joe Biden.
I need to go back and make sure that I take note of the word that you used, exoneration. That is not a word that
I'm going to continue with my questions. I'm going to continue with my questions. I know that the term
I ultimately reached.
I know that
whether
the term
sufficient evidence existed such that the likely outcome
you exonerated
a conviction.
Shout out to that doctor for making it clear that he was not exonerated. That takes courage right there, what he did. Wow.
I know that the term willful
Let me know what you think. Comment down below.
retention has a Mr. Hur, it's my time.
Hur, though, also faced criticism from Republicans who were angry he did not recommend the president face criminal charges as a result of his investigation.
You had the same facts, and the individual that you were investigating was 65 and had a good memory. Do you reach the same conclusion?
Congressman, as I responded earlier to a question along these lines, I am not here to entertain hypotheticals about facts or circumstances that may be different. What I did was assess the evidence and the facts that I obtained in this investigation and make a judgment based on this set of evidence.
Today's hearing highlights the challenges facing the DOJ. It's an election year in which the sitting president stands accused of mishandling classified documents, even though it doesn't rise to the level of criminality. And the presumptive Republican nominee, a former president himself, is facing federal charges for not only possessing classified documents, but also allegedly lying about it.
But you know, Biden is a sitting president, and there are rules like you cannot prosecute a sitting president. So he's like exonerated from a lot of laws and a lot of rules. Like you cannot lock up the sitting president. So I think because of that, maybe charges are not being brought. And Trump is not the sitting president, and they're trying to like send him to jail for like 100 years or whatever it is. Comment down below, what do you think about this? Because again, given that Biden is the sitting president, he cannot be prosecuted. So I don't expect any charges to be brought on.
To get us started today, I'm joined by NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles, NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memley, NBC News legal analyst and former U.S. attorney and senior FBI official Chuck Rosenberg. So, Ryan.
You know what? Let me pause it right there because my internet doesn't seem to be working like it's supposed to be. Let me switch it up. So like I said, you cannot just prosecute a sitting president. He actually is exonerated from a lot of rules, a lot of laws, and he's not going to go to jail. And maybe that's one of the reasons why Biden's trying to stay in office, because otherwise he can't be prosecuted. So because of that, I think the doctor did a very courageous thing and not prosecuting the president. But you know who I like to listen to? Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters always has good points of view that I just blatant and they're just out there. Let me share a clip that I got here from Jesse Waters. And again, please comment down below. What do you think about this whole situation with the president?
Fox News alert. It's 8 p.m. on the East Coast and the polls just closed in Mississippi. And Fox News has projected that President Joe Biden has secured the delegates required to become the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. Biden didn't have any challengers, but he's lost a handful of delegates to the uncommitted option. He also lost another 3 delegates to Jason Palmer, an entrepreneur from Maryland who won American Samoa. On the Republican side, Donald Trump projected to easily win Georgia. He's also expected to clinch his party's nomination later tonight, so stay with Fox for the latest results. Now, the president's state of mind was the center of attention in Washington today. The Justice Department finally releasing the highly anticipated transcripts of Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur, who testified this morning, and we'll get to that in a minute. But first, 5 hours of Biden unscripted. Our producers spent all day reading this, and now we understand what Robert Hur meant when he called Biden painfully slow. The transcripts confirm that Biden didn't remember when his son died, when he was vice president, or when Trump was elected. Biden had to be reminded multiple times throughout his interview what a fax machine was. And whenever he was redirected to focus on the question at hand, he'd launch into wacky stories weirder than corn pop. For instance, when the special counsel asked why he moved classified documents from the Naval Observatory, Biden claimed he'd won an international torts competition in law school and then shared a story of a 23-year-old who was wearing the wrong pants, wrong jeans when a spark caught fire. And
he sounds like an old man telling a story. Definitely feel bad for him, but I'm not even going to blame him. I'm going to blame his handlers, who are not taking over, just telling him to step aside. Thank you, sir. You've done a great job, but we need to move on. This man is old. And I can't believe the media is not being forward with us and letting us know that this man is senile.
Lost one of his testicles. Biden called himself a frustrated architect who went to Mongolia, where he shot bow and arrows with sumo wrestlers. Biden said he had great aim and put everyone in Mongolia to shame. At one point, Biden asked special counsel Hur if he saw, quote, risque pictures of my wife in a bathing suit, which you probably did. She's beautiful. When asked about his classified documents in the garage, Biden bragged he went on Leno with his Corvette and started making car noises. Quote, all you do is you take your foot off the brake and vroom, vroom. Joe Biden complained that the Secret Service was driving him crazy because they wouldn't let him drive. So Biden would drive back and forth in his own driveway. Quote, I'd get it to the bottom of the driveway, tack it up to about $4,000 and vroom, vroom.
Again, he doesn't even know how to use words to express his thoughts. Making sound, oh my God. And I can't believe people are still gonna vote for this guy. So I'm just gotta be verbal on life and just put it out there that this is unbelievable. Let's all be honest with ourselves. This is not a guy that should not be in power of the strongest country on earth.
Yeah, the president making more car noises. Now, if you were a prosecutor conducting a deposition, you're asking about highly sensitive national security secrets, and the subject starts revving his engine and pretending to hit the clutch, you know he's not fit to stand trial. This is why the White House won't release the audio tapes. The president's going, vroom, vroom, and asking, when was I vice president again? Robert Hur had to assess the president's mental state because his mental state would determine whether or not he willfully retained classified documents. What was going on through the president's mind or what wasn't going on through the president's mind was important, and Hur defended it.
My assessment in the report about the relevance of the president's memory was necessary and accurate and fair. Most importantly, what I wrote is what I believe the evidence shows and what I expect jurors would perceive and believe. I did not sanitize my explanation, nor did I disparage the president unfairly.
But Democrats didn't want to hear about the president.
Shout out to Robert Hur. Again, shout out for being honest and not putting his name on the line. Just being honest. What's going on?
His hazy memory. Jamie Raskin used his time to question your memory.
My friends, this is a memory test. But it's not a memory test for President Biden. It's a memory test for all of America. Do we remember fascism? Do we remember Nazism? Do you remember communism and totalitarianism? They have one more reason to celebrate Donald Trump and his cult followers.
You know what? Why he got to bring up Donald Trump? We're in the middle of talking about Biden, his report, his investigation. What does Trump got to do with this? I really hated the fact that they brought up, they should just shut him down and say, why are you talking about Trump? Got nothing to do with this investigation.
Who've completely lost their way.
But you know what? Do you think Trump got something to do with this investigation? Comment below. Let's all be verbal. Let's talk about this because I'm shocked.
They're looking for high crimes and misdemeanors. Now they appoint themselves amateur memory specialists, and that's what they pounce on the president of the United States about. America faces a choice between democracy and tyranny.
So for Democrats, today was about fascists pouncing on Corvette lovers. They tried to rewrite the whole report, but failed.
Did you have any reason to believe that President Biden lied to you?
I do address in my report one response the president gave to a question that we posed to him that we deemed to be not credible.
Was it clear he didn't lie?
I'm sorry, Congressman.
The report is clear that he didn't lie, or that he caused his staff to lie to you, and that he didn't cause his staff to lie to you. Your report is clear on that. You agree that?
No. Democrats even claiming Hur exonerated Biden when he didn't.
So this lengthy, expensive, and independent investigation resulted in a complete exoneration of President Joe Biden.
I need to go back and make sure that I take note of a word that you used, exoneration. That is not a word
Hur,
that
I'm going to continue with my questions. I'm going to continue with my questions. I know that the term
I ultimately reached.
I know that the
whether
term
sufficient evidence existed such that the likely outcome
you exonerated
a conviction.
I know that
Did
the
not
term
exonerate him.
willful
That word does not appear in
retention
the
has a
report,
Mr. Hur, it's my time.
You see what they try to do? Try to shut him down so he doesn't talk and he doesn't say the obvious. So shout out again to Robert Hur for talking, even when she tried to cut him off. That just takes bravery. Just being honest about the report and no, he's not exonerated. My God, that was a good answer.
Thank you.
Today's testimony proved that Biden, for 40 years, spread classified documents across 3 states in 6 unsecured locations after being warned repeatedly.
Mr. Hur, classified documents were found at the Penn Biden Center?
That's correct.
They were found in President Biden's garage?
In Wilmington, Delaware, yes.
And in his basement den?
Also in the same home, yes.
And his main floor office?
Correct.
And his 3rd floor den?
Correct.
At the University of Delaware?
Correct.
And at the Biden Institute?
Correct.
Is it accurate to...
Wow. Amazing. What's going on? Like, sacrifice, what is it called? Official documents seem not to be official. They're like all over the place.
Quote your report that classified documents were found in
quote, badly damaged boxes in his garage near a collapsed dog crate, a dog bed, a Zappos box, and an empty bucket. Is that correct?
Those words do appear in the report.
Biden even told her his garage was such a mess, he moved boxes around himself, so his Corvette had more room. The president admitted, there was a kid who used to help me take care of my Corvette, but didn't work for me. So besides Hunter and his Chinese assistant zipping in and out of Biden's garage, there were kids working on Biden's cars. And Primetime can conclusively report tonight that mysterious mechanics and spies did not have full access to Trump's documents in Mar-a-Lago for decades. Special counsel Hur testified that Biden admitted he knew he had classified documents and that he wanted to keep them for posterity's sake, to burnish his image as a world leader. Hur also testified Biden hoarded classified documents to write a book, a lucrative deal worth $8 million.
Joe Biden had 8 million reasons to break the rules, took classified information and shared it with the guy who was writing the book. That's why he knew the rules, but he broke them for $8 million in a book advance. It wasn't just $8 million. It was also his ego. Pride and money is why he knowingly violated the rules. The oldest motives in the book, pride and money.
So pride and profit, you got motive. The misconduct's plain as day. And there was an attempt to cover it up. The same month, Biden opens an investigation into Trump's handling of classified documents. He dispatches his team to gather all of the classified documents that he'd been stashing. Then Biden's team waits a year and a half to announce they'd found classified documents at the Penn Biden Center. An 18-month mop-up job at your house while you raid your opponent's house. That's not cooperating with investigators. In fact, the second they heard a special counsel had been appointed, Biden's ghostwriter deleted evidence.
Ghostwriter has recordings of Biden making admissions of crimes. He then learns that you've been appointed. He then deletes the information that is the evidence, and you don't charge him.
That is reflected in the report. One of the things that Mr. Zwanitzer did not delete was transcripts of the recordings that he had created that included inculpatory evidence relating to Mr. Biden.
Oh, so if you destroy some evidence but not other evidence, that somehow absolves you of the evidence you destroy? Here's what I see. Zwanitzer should have been charged, wasn't. Biden and Trump should have been treated equally. They weren't. And that is the double standard that I think a lot of Americans are concerned about.
In the last 3 elections, 3 candidates have been accused of mishandling documents: Hillary, Biden, and Trump. And only one's been charged. The only one who was president with declassification authority. The other 2 risked national security for pride and profit, got caught, destroyed evidence, and then lost their memories. But is Biden playing dumb or just dumb?
I would not be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury that that intent element had been
right. But the reason you have that doubt is the senile cooperator theory. The fact that Joe Biden is so inept in responding that you can't prove the intent, which again, I don't quibble with that conclusion, but it's frustrating to be like, oh, well, this guy's not getting treated the same way as Trump because the elevator's not going to the top floor, so we can't prove intent. While at the same time, Biden goes out there at the White House and says, well, you know, he just blatantly lies. And what I'm trying to figure out is whether or not Biden's lying because he's still so senile, he hasn't read your report, or whether it's a little craftier and a little more devious and perhaps a little more intentional than we might otherwise think.
Yeah, so prosecutors are claiming Biden's too forgetful to be prosecuted, but Trump's sharp enough to stand trial. That's not how the law works.
We have a former vice president who will not suffer any consequence for all of these actions, all because we say, well, he's a well-meaning, forgetful old man. You know, if you were kind of a well-meaning, forgetful old man that was driving a car and you forgot what you were doing a little bit and you hit somebody and killed them, I believe you'd be responsible. The law must apply.
Now, the real reason Hur didn't charge Biden is because he didn't think he'd get a conviction. But it's not why, it's where. Hur didn't think he could get Biden convicted in D.C., and that's where the jury would be. Outside of D.C., fair jury, sure. But Biden's poor mental state let him escape justice, which is forcing the media to argue that Biden's competent enough to be president, but not competent enough to stand trial.
But like I said, you can't lock up a current president. And it's his lawyers or his justice. So yeah, like he said, in DC, he's not going to get arrested.
You have this image of this poor guy sitting on a park bench, you know, feeding the birds. That's not who Joe Biden is.
He really wasn't carrying their water. I think you've shown the work on the old man sitting on the bench feeding the pigeons.
It comes after Joe Biden just had a very successful, effective State of the Union address. So nobody who saw him on that night is going to think of him as Gloria said, a kindly old man sitting on a park bench feeding the pigeons.
The president sitting on a park bench feeding the pigeons is what saved Democrats from nominating Kamala. The White House releasing a statement after this hearing today saying, vroom, vroom. House Speaker Mike Johnson joins me now. Do you think the president is mentally fit?
Jesse, I've spent a little bit of time with him, and I'm sad to tell you that I don't think he is. And the reason I'm sad is because we are projecting weakness on the world stage. All of our adversaries around the world can see and follow exactly what you and I and the American people are. We have a weak president, and that's why our enemies are acting so provocatively right now. This is not a game. It's really not a laughing matter. It's a dangerous situation, and this election in November can't get here soon enough.
When you say you spent time with the president and you've determined in your...
I'm a little bit embarrassed that there are people, general public, that are still trying to defend this man. There is nothing to defend here. In my opinion, this man is compromised.
Your opinion that he's not mentally fit enough to be president. What do you mean? What did you see?
I don't mean to be uncharitable here. Look, we respect the office, right? And people can't change how they age. Everybody ages differently. I'm just telling you that President Biden is not on his A game. Can I say it that way? I mean, he's in person. He's rather slow, and obviously his staff handles him very carefully. For more than 6 weeks, I requested a meeting with the president one-on-one. The Speaker of the House and the President of the United States should be able to have a meeting. I needed to talk to him about very serious classified matters regarding national security, and of course the border as well. They couldn't arrange that meeting. They wouldn't arrange that meeting. When he finally relented, he invited 5 others to join us. So, there was the Vice President was there, and Chuck Schumer, and Mitch McConnell, and Hakeem Jeffries. I think that these two offices, the persons who hold these two offices, need to be able to communicate more regularly, and that's been difficult with this president. And frankly, I think it's because they don't want to put me in a room with him alone. They're maybe afraid of what he might say if he goes off script. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. These are just the facts that everybody can see.
Well, we saw you at the State of the Union trying to hold back some emotion. It looks like you're very emotional that night. What's it like to be up there sitting next to Kamala Harris and listening to Joe Biden say what Joe Biden says?
Listen, it was a heavily partisan, vitriolic campaign speech. That's not what a State of the Union address is supposed to be. Over history, presidents have been conciliatory. They've had at least segments in the speech that were bipartisan, where everyone can stand together and give an ovation for America.
One thing that he applauded that I didn't like was funding for Ukraine. I wonder, why is it that both Republican and Democrats applaud funding for Ukraine? Like, this is the biggest policy scheme going on. So I want to know who's getting paid on the back end for this. That's the only thing I didn't like about the speaker.
America and American values. There was none of that in that speech. It was so frustrating to have to sit behind him and just take that, And I had emphasized decorum for our side, emphasizing that, hey, as the Republicans, we're for order and not chaos. We're the rule of law team. We need to show it. And largely everybody complied with that. But it was very difficult not to show on my face my disdain for what he was saying. It was full of untruths, and it was hyper-partisan, and that was not the place for it. It was very disappointing.
What's it like to sit next to Kamala? Did you guys exchange pleasantries throughout the evening?
We did. It's an awkward setting for whomever is sitting there. And I always try to make nice and make conversation. And look, again, I don't have anything personally against the president or the vice president, but our policies are worlds apart. And what I'm concerned about is he didn't say a single word in that speech really about what he would do to fix the border crisis, this catastrophe that he has created, a humanitarian catastrophe, national security catastrophe. Nothing. It took him 41 minutes to mention the border in that speech. He talked about the size of Snicker bars as a higher priority. It was not anything that we could applaud or go along with. And that's the problem.
I did not have Snickers coming up in the State of the Union, but stick with us because we have a Fox News alert. The Associated Press now projecting that President Donald Trump will win the Republican primary in Mississippi, bringing him one step closer to clinching the Republican nomination, which we expect to happen later tonight as the delegate.
Okay, yes, we do have a two-party system, right? We got Republicans and we got Democrats. But I think people need to look past the party system. Don't just vote because I'm a Republican, I'm going to vote Republican, or because I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote Democrat. And I think people just got to look at their self-interest and what's best for them and the reality of things. Because I think showing that Biden got mental health issues, it's just the reality of things. And a lot could be said both about Trump and Biden. But I think what Biden is going through is a little bit more scary. Only because this is putting the country in like a big threat. The fact that the main leader is cognitively or got brain problem. I keep saying the word cognitive problems. But the fact that the main leader of the country got brain problem, I think it's a bigger issue than Trump doesn't really know how to speak properly. And I think he's working on it. And I hope Trump is able to, or when he starts campaigning like on TV and everywhere, he just starts addressing people a little bit better so that people can see the change and see that, you know what? He's not a pretty talker, but he makes a point. So let's keep listening to this.
continue to roll in. Your reaction to former President Donald Trump, Speaker, moving very quickly to securing this nomination?
We are delighted to have him officially as the nominee. I think this is a classic matchup. I think that President Trump is going to mop the floor with Joe Biden, and I cannot wait until the debate. Are they going to allow Joe Biden to debate Donald Trump? It will be a beautiful thing to behold.
And I thought it was a normal thing to debate. Like, it just happens. Every time you got a candidate, a Republican and a Democrat, they go on stage and they debate their issues. I just thought it happens. And I can't believe now it's being debated whether it should happen or not. I mean, Trump skipped all the debates, but that's because he secured the Republican side. When it comes to the country securing a president, they should have a debate. I'm surprised that they're debating it. So with that said, I think it should happen. Comment below. What do you think?
But count me as a skeptic that the Democrats are going to allow that. I don't think they would put him on the stage with him.
All right. Now, I had to ask you something. We were going through a couple weeks of this stuff that is jammed into these spending bills that I know just passed last Friday. We have $500,000 for anti-racist oyster reefs. We have $15 million to put ankle monitors on cows, and $850,000 for bus stop equity in California. Speaker, when are we going to get the spending under control?
Welcome to the Senate Democrat majority. This is the problem when you have divided government. Right now, we have control of only 1/3 of 1/2 of the federal government, and we have the smallest margin in U.S. history. We have a 2-vote margin in the House, and in a week, it'll go down to a 1-vote margin for our House Republican majority. When you have a situation like that, you're not going to get appropriations bills that you like, and we have fought tooth and nail. The reason the FY24, the fiscal year 24 bills are so late is because we've been fighting them tooth and nail to take this nonsense out of federal spending. But it's like turning an aircraft carrier. We're going to get there, Jesse. We need a larger majority, and everybody can help us at growthemajority.com.
Okay, because when I see anti-racist oyster reefs for $500,000, I start rolling my eyes like Mike Johnson at the end of a speech. I don't want to do that anymore. Speaker, thanks for joining Jesse Waters.
Again, the way that I see it is the United States is the biggest company on earth. You're not supposed to look at government as a company, but they got funding. They got money coming in. They got taxpayer money coming in. And the people deciding what to do with that taxpayer money is ridiculous. Instead of investing it, we don't know anything about the border. It's a federal government thing. They should put a lot of money into that. It really sucks or it hurts whenever they send money to like Ukraine or another country to help them. Like, we don't have problems. And let me repeat, my name is Noel, battling MS, and this is one of the ways of me battling this problem. See, everybody has a little bit of a problem. My problem is I gotta talk, I gotta move my fingers, everything, because you miss things when you lose it. So before I lose my voice and my ability to move, because with MS, you just start to decline and start to lose abilities. Let me make use of it. And thank you if you stuck around, still watching. Subscribe. I'm up to 1,613. Thank you for the new subscribers, and I want to keep bringing you guys news. I'm going to try to log in every day between 12 and 1 and do 1 hour of me talking and presenting news and information. I do a lot of politics because I think politics affects everybody. And so when something new comes on, it's on us to talk about it, right? We pay taxes, and these are our politicians. This is how this democracy works. We got to let our opinions be known, because otherwise, if we don't talk about it, they believe that we don't care. So we have to be verbal.